Good evening. We will now call the business session of November 17th, 2020 to order at 6:04 p.m. On March 16th, 2020, the governor suspended various provisions of the Open Meetings Act pursuant to a state of disaster authority. This change was effective March 16th, 2020 until further notice or until the state of disaster declaration expires. In accordance with physical distancing guidelines and while providing as much transparency as possible, this meeting will not be open to the public. This meeting is being broadcast live at wccc.tv. The audio is also being recorded. The video and audio recordings will be available to the public. According to the Governor and Attorney General, statutes that may require face-to-face interaction between members of the public and public officials are suspended, provided, however, that the governmental body must offer alternative methods of communication with their public officials. This includes public comment on agenda items. In an effort to allow for as much public input as possible, those who wish to submit their written comments on a listed agenda item were asked to submit their comments to the City Secretary's office by 11 a.m. today. The City Secretary will read into the record the comments submitted for items on the agenda at the appropriate time. The individuals who registered to speak on a public hearing item, we have received registrations for comments on public hearing items. When the registered speaker is acknowledged, he or she must limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. For any person addressing the council through the use of a translator. Now please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Those will stand approved as read. We have 10 public hearings tonight. First is public hearing 2020-802. Clint Peters, please.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plats. A final plat plans of the Maple Sunsets Edition, lots 1 through 3, block 1. Final plat of the and construction plans of the Campbell Edition, lots 5 and 6, block 1. And preliminary plat of the Oak Bluffs Edition, and preliminary plat of the Northgate Edition. By a vote of 11-0, the Plan Commission recommended that subdivision plats and construction plans be approved.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing. Is there any, Esmeralda, do we have anyone here to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Ewing.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Zuniga.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-803.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance providing for the extension of certain boundary limits in the city of Waco, Texas, and the annexation and designation of urban residential as a comprehensive plan land use designation and the designation of R1B single-family residential district on certain territory described as 1, a tract of land containing approximately 61.51 acres of land, more or less situated in being a part of the BBB and C RISE survey abstract number 157 from Clinton County, Texas, and being a part of the called 194.45 acre tract described in a deed to WBW Single Land Investment LLC Series 104, recorded in document 2019-028-303 of official public records of Clinton County, Texas, and being located near the intersection of Warren Road and Ritchie Road. 2, a strip of land varied in width containing approximately 1.464 acres of land, more or less situated in being part of the BBB and C RISE survey abstract 157, Clinton County, Texas, and being a part of the called 199.4 acre tract described in deed to Luis Madden Earl, recorded in volume 429, page 573 of the official public record of Clinton County, Texas, and being part of Ritchie Road right of way that is adjacent to the property described in number 1 above. And 3, a strip of land varied in width containing approximately 3.251 acres of land, more or less situated in and being part of the BB&B C RISE survey abstract number 157, McLennan County, Texas, and being part of a called 199.4 acre tract described in a deed to Luis Madden Earl, recorded in volume 429, page 673, the official public records in Clinton County, Texas, and being part of the Ritchie Road right-of-way that is adjacent to the property described in one above, and being located near the intersection of Warren Road and Ritchie Road, and further located within Waco's extraterritorial jurisdiction, which said territory lies adjacent to and adjoins the present boundary limits of the city of Waco, Texas, assigning the annexed territory to Council District 3, establishing the city of Waco Precinct 55, which will consist of annexed territory, directing that all city precincts district map be revised to reflect that the change in providing voting locations in any city of Waco vote center, providing that the said territory bears pro rata part of taxes and time inhabitants to all rights and privileges of citizens and binding inhabitants to act in laws of the city, adopting a service plan, providing a severability clause, providing for publishing of the ordinance, providing penalties therefore, and finding a term at the meeting which is ordinances passes open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-1, Plan Commission recommended the annexation land use plan in R1B zoning.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Any questions for staff? All right, we'll open the public hearing for comments. As well, it looks like we have one registered speaker. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are going to allow Mark Rosetto, who's an attendee, to be able to speak.
It looks like he's still muted at this point.
Hello.
Okay, Mark, please go.
Hello. My name is Mark Rosetto. I'm the VP of Development for WBW Development, and I'm on the call in the event that there are any questions, and I want to thank City Council for reviewing our request.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rosetto. Any questions for Mr. Rosetto? It looks like we have none, so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
That's all of the speakers we have registered, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on first reading. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Savito,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-804.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance providing for the extension of certain boundary limits of the city of Waco, Texas, and the annexation and designation of general industrial as a comprehensive plan land use designation, and the designation of M2 light industrial district zoning of certain property consisting of tract 1 being a 62.46 acre tract of land situated in the Thomas de la Vega grant, abstract number 43, McLennan County, Texas, and being a portion of the remainder of that called 1,064.016 acre tract of land described in the deed to Waco Industrial Foundation, as recorded in volume 1573, page 793 of the deed records in McLennan County, Texas, and tract 2 being a 9.216 acre tract of land situated in the Thomas de la Vega grant, abstract number 43, McLennan County, Texas, and being all of that called 500 by 800 foot tract of land described in a deed to Waco Industrial Foundation, as recorded in volume 398, page 183, the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, and being located near US Highway 84 and Aviation Parkway, and further located within Waco's extraterritorial jurisdiction, which said territory lies adjacent to and adjoins the present boundary limits of the city of Waco, Texas, assigning the annexed territory to City Council District 1, establishing City of Waco Precinct 85, Tract Area 1, and 86, Tract Area 2, which will consist of the annexed territory, directing that all city precinct district maps be revised to reflect the change in providing a vote location at any City of Waco vote center, providing that the said territory bears pro rata share of taxes and entitling inhabitants to all rights and privileges of citizens and binding inhabitants to acts and laws of the city, adopting a service plan, providing a servability clause, providing for publishing of the ordinance, providing penalties therefore, and finding the term at the meeting which this ordinance is passed, is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the general industrial land use designation into light industrial and the annexation.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Any questions for staff? We'll open the public hearing. Esmeralda, do we have anyone registered for this?
No, sir, we did not.
All right, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Savito,
Yes.
Fairfield,
yes,
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-805.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance providing for the extension of certain boundary limits of the city of Waco, Texas, and the annexation and designation of general industrial as a comprehensive plan land use designation and the designation of M2 light industrial district. Zoning of certain territory described as tract 1 being a 62.459 acre tract of land situated in the PM Maxwell Survey, abstract number 576 in Clinton County, Texas, and being a portion of the remainder of that called 589.843 acre tract of land described as tract 1 and deed to Waco Industrial Foundation is recorded in volume 1338, page 485 of the deed records in Clinton County, Texas. And all of lot 3, block 3 of the Texas Central South Edition, according to the final plat thereof, as recorded in Clinton County Clerk's file number 2001-039-158, official public records in Clinton County, Texas, together with all the called 1.56 acre tract of land, a portion of Wycon Drive dedicated to the city of Waco by said plat, tract 2 being a 34.132 acre tract of land, all of lots 3.3 through 5, block 5 of the Texas Central South Edition, according to the final plat thereof, as recorded in Clinton County, Texas Clerk's Office, file 2007-03-6280 with official public records from Clinton County, Texas, together with all that called 3.62 acre tract of land dedicated to the city of Waco by said plat, and tract 3 being a 63.322 acre tract of land situated in the Carlos O. Campbell grant, abstract number 32 in Clinton County, Texas, and being a portion of the remainder of that called 154.9 acre tract of land described in deed to the Waco Industrial Foundation, as recorded in Clinton County Clerk's file number 2005-01-1040 of the official public records in Clinton County, Texas, and being located along Wycon Drive and Alliance Parkway, respectively. And further located within Waco extraterritorial jurisdiction, which said territory lies adjacent to and adjoins the present boundaries limits of the city of Waco, Texas, assigning that the annexed territory to the city of Waco District 3, establishing city of Waco Precinct 60, which will consist of the annexed area, directing that the city precinct map be revised to reflect that change, and providing voting locations at any city of Waco vote center, providing that said territory bears pro rata part of taxes and entitling inhabitants to all rights and privileges of citizens, and binding inhabitants to acts and laws of the city, adopting a service plan, providing a servability clause, and determining for publishing of the ordinance, providing penalties therefor, and finding an alternative meeting which is ordinances passes them to the public required by law. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommend approval of the land use designation change into zoning and annexation.
All right, thank you, Clint. Any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Esmeralda, did anyone register to speak on this item?
no, sir.
Okay, then we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval on first reading. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Savito,
Yes.
Fairfield,
yes,
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-806.
Mayor, public hearings 806 through 811 are all special permits with the same findings, so I'd like to read those in the record first and go through in case individually. The findings are that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that the proposed use is compatible with appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located, that the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception, and that available community facilities and services, including the road system providing access to proposed use, are adequate for their proposed use. So for public hearing 806, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Serendipity Green Homes LLC for a short-term rental type 2 and R1B zoning district on property described as lots 14A and 15B, block 33, the Dean Edition, known as 3105 Trice Avenue. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, I will open a public hearing for comments. Esmeralda, anyone registered to speak on this item?
No, sir.
We will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-807.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to LMK Enterprises LLC for sale, rental, parts, repair, and storage of recreational vehicles in M2 zoning on property described as Lot 13, Block 1 of the Westwood Edition, known as 4901 Franklin Avenue. By a vote of 11-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting of a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. Esmeralda, did anyone register to speak on this item?
no, sir.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval. Second. Anyway, okay, whatever.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-808.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Christopher and Michelle Hill for a flea market in C4 zoning district on property described as Lot 23, Block 1 of the Farm Lot Edition, known as 1518 Austin Avenue. By a vote of 9-2, the Plan Commission recommended approval of request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
All right, very good. Any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Esmeralda, did anyone register to speak on this item?
no, sir.
We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
No.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-809.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution amending the special permit for a veterinarian clinic, not including open kennels, in C2 zoning district on property described as Lot 2, Block A of the Columbia Edition, known as 3901 South Jack Colgan Expressway, from WAEC LLC to BBC of Texas LLC. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting special permits per section 28-122.
All right, thanks. Is there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. Esmeralda, is anyone registered to speak on this item?
yes, I just want to make sure we are on 809, correct? Or 810?
We're on 809.
809, no, sir, we do not have anybody speaking on this item.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-810.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Ralph and Marcia Billings for a short-term rental type 2 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 4, Block 18 of the Riverside Edition, known as 805 East Clay Avenue. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing, and Esmeralda, we do have a registered speaker on this item.
we do. Ms. Paige Gore is available to answer any questions. She says she doesn't necessarily need to speak, but if you have any questions, that she'd be happy to answer them. She is on the line, and I think we can unmute her.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Ms. Gore? She's the applicant's representative. All right, no questions. Ms. Gore, thank you for being here today. And Esmeralda, no other speakers registered, correct?
That's correct.
We will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
We get a second?
No, second.
Yeah, I'll second it if nobody else did.
All right.
But I did either.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
So hold on just a second. Let me just go on record to say, this is one of those short-term rentals that comes up in the district, and I'm going to go on record and say, as I have said in the past, we are still a little housing unstable, and I would prefer a more orchestrated plan and some stabilization in housing within our district before we just open to that level of STRs that are not owner occupied. So I will not be supporting this.
Thank you, honey. Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
I'm with Andrea as well. I think over and over we've heard about from community members, and I know things have been a little bit different since COVID, and we're not able to meet in person. But I think NERNA and the neighborhood associations and the neighbors in the area have made it very clear their desire to have more long-term rentals rather than just STRs to help create that housing. And so for that reason, I'm also going to deny this request.
Thank you, Hector. Further discussion? Okay, please poll the council.
Yes, sir. Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
No.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabino,
No.
Fairfield,
No.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion does not carry because it did not acquire a majority. So we'll move to the public hearing 2020-811.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Timothy W. Randolph for a short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 3, Block C, the Village Lake Edition, known as 5500 Birdie Circle. By a vote of 11-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28.122 of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. Esmeralda, did you want registered to speak on this item?
no, sir, not on this item.
Okay, thank you. We will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval. I will second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabino,
Yes. Sorry.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Thanks for your help with all those public hearings tonight. We have received comment cards for agenda items, resolution 2020-814 and 2020-816, which we will remove from the consent agenda and vote on separately. Esmeralda, do you have the comments on item 2020-814?
Yes, sir, I do. The comment is from John Bible for resolution 2020-814. On behalf of the Centex African American Chamber of Commerce, we understand the need for more financial resources for the business community, especially minority businesses. As the Chamber continues to grow and expand programs that will help build relationships with business owners throughout the community, additional partnerships with financial institutions such as CDFIs, banks, and other nonprofits in the area become vital in ensuring proper capital, training, and education are accessible to individuals and businesses in need. The Chamber is currently working with representatives for the MCCIF in order to create avenues that would put current members of the Chamber and associated community businesses in direct position to take advantage of opportunities that will help generate more working capital in order to sustain business operations. Conversations about collaborations on current Chamber programs like the Centex Minority Equity Fund can possibly create a pipeline of businesses that have need for more financial aid assistance and can ultimately be candidates for the MCCIF program. Working together will increase our chances tremendously on building a healthy economy and improving the quality of life in our community.
All right, thank you, Esmeralda. Were those the only comments?
That was the only comment, yes, sir.
All right, is there a motion on resolution 2020-814?
Motion for approval.
First reading.
Oh, sorry.
We have a motion for approval. We have a second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? Please poll council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Resolution 2020-816. You have comments on that item as well?
Yes, sir, I do. The comments are from Josh Blake, and he says that this item will advance the small businesses in our Waco area by providing outside funding resources. And that's the end of the comment.
Okay, that was for 814 or 816?
That was for 815.
815.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we had 815 pulled as well. Okay, so we need to vote
Oh,
separately
yes, sorry about that, sir.
on resolution 2020-815. Is there a motion on resolution 2020-815?
I'll move approval of 816.
Second.
This is 815.
Yep, 815.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The second was Councilmember Sabido.
Yes. Please poll the council.
Yes, we have Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. And now resolution 2020-816. Do you also have comments on that item as well?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
So comments for 2020-816 are from Alan Northcutt. He states that we make these comments as the best scientific knowledge states that our climate crisis requires rapid action on decarbonization of all cities, and we must look at all Waco actions through the lens of the climate crisis. The resolution of the city with the Marriott AC Hotel specifies certain performance measures for the hotel. However, I do not see any requirements in this document that the Marriott include EV charging facilities. The city must include this requirement because, one, electrification of all transport must occur by 2050. The number of visitors to Waco during EVs is increasing. EV drivers visiting the hotel must have chargers available. If completed in 2024, this hotel must have charging infrastructure, or the hotel and the city will be behind the times. We would recommend at least 20 level 2 chargers with the 145 parking spaces. Mr. Ewing, do you believe the city should take this small step of requiring EV chargers to help protect our children's future relative to the climate crisis? Mayor, there are attachments, and I will forward this whole packet to you and the council.
Okay, thank you. All right, and that's all the comments you have for resolution 2020-816, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion on that item?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, just that I've been on record saying is I'm not interested in funding any additional resources towards any sort of short-term lodging in our community. However, I am broadly very supportive of this project, of the Marriott coming to town. I'm supportive of the TIF agenda TIF item later on this agenda. I'm thankful that they're going to be working not only with us to provide public parking spaces, but also with the CBB to provide convention space and hotel room blocks for when we can actually have people back in town for those sort of things. And I was supportive of the original iteration of this agreement that had the reimbursement rate of 55%. But I just don't feel that it's appropriate this time to increase that. And so for that only reason, I'll be voting against this particular item.
And let me just say, while my opinion on the matter does not hold much water past the next 30 minutes, yes, I do believe that the city should do all that it can to make sure when we incentivize these kinds of businesses and hotels to work with them to do things like this hotel is doing, like installing solar on the roof and installing chargers for EVs at the hotel. So on record saying that, again, won't matter pretty soon, but thanks for asking.
It'll matter to me, Darius. It'll matter to me.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Did we get a motion in a second? I'm lost now.
Yep. We did.
All right, please, thank you. Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
No.
Sabido,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Thank you very much. The consent agenda tonight consists of resolutions 2020-812 through 2020-838. with the exceptions of resolutions 2020-814, 815, and 816, which we just voted on separately. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabito,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. We have 4 ordinances tonight. The first is ordinance 2020-839.
An ordinance amending section 1876A of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas to create a fire training lieutenant classified position, grade 4, in the fire administration class, and establishing the authorized strength of such position at 1, and decreasing the number of fire alarm classified positions, grade 4, in the telecommunications class from 5 to 4. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a savings clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabito,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Ordinance 2020-840 on first reading.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, amending section 1883 and chapter 18 personnel of said code, providing the number of police officers, police sergeants, and police commanders and assistant police chiefs authorized by the city council, providing a savings clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabito,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Ordinance 2020-841.
An ordinance amending section 2-51 in Division 4 Sustainable Resource Practices Advisory Board and Article 2 Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Chapter 2 Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas to number 1, revise the mission, purposes, and membership of the Sustainable Resource Practices Board, otherwise known as Board, and 2, add a requirement that the board conduct its business in accordance with the City Council's policies governing City of Waco boards and commissions. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on November 3rd, 2020.
Thank you, Jennifer. Esmeralda, I believe we have a comment on this item.
Yes, sir, we do. We received a comment from Alan Northcutt. He states that at the first reading on November 3rd, 7 citizens spoke out against the revision of the Sustainable Resource Practices Advisory Board policies as it is written, and no one spoke in favor. Following those comments, the council engaged in no discussion and unanimously approved the ordinance. So the question is citizen input just a formality, or does the council actually consider the citizen viewpoint? Although we outline many deficiencies of the ordinance, the foundational problem is a lack of a goal. This is analogous and to requiring citizens to wear masks without stating the purpose. The ordinance talks about greater sustainability without specifying the reason or the goal. The reason is that the global warming will cause catastrophes around the planet this century as greenhouse gas GHG emissions are not drastically cut. The goal that myriad cities, states, counties, and businesses have adopted is to cut emissions 45% by 2030 and become net zero emitters by 2050. We call on the City Council to reject this ordinance and work with citizens to report the science to include language that specifies the climate disaster we wish to avoid and include emission reduction targets the IPCC says we must work toward. See the attached file of the IPCC press release, The World is Heating, with the targets highlighted in yellow. Thank you. There are attachments that I'll forward to the council.
Thank you, Esmeralda. And that's all the comments on this item?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion?
I will move approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, this is Holmes. I'll just mention that I think it's good that we get the Sustainable Resource Practices Advisory Board kind of back on track. I think we made some changes here that clarify, mission and purpose and kind of update the whole advisory board mission there. We got a lot of great board members there, and getting this going again, I think is important. Ready to re-engage. The city in the last year, just the last couple of years, has adopted this energy guidance document. We've done the city electricity contract where we use renewable energy. We've introduced hybrid cars into the fleet, the city fleet, and done a full inventory of where we are in buildings and fleet and where we might be able to go with alternative energy. So I think it's been a very active council here and very responsive to sustainable resource practices. And I'm looking forward to getting this board going again, kind of in the middle of our COVID and post-COVID.
Thank you, Councilman Holmes. Appreciate those comments. Any other discussion? All right, please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabino,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Ordinance 2020-842 on second reading.
An ordinance amending the project and financing plan for reinvestment zone number 1 for tax increment financing to amend the agreements with one SRH Hospitality Waco Downtown Investments LLC to provide an extension of the project completion date, reallocate TIF funds among portions of the project, and additional contractual changes associated with the construction of a Marriott AC Hotel at 301 and 325 South 6th Street. And 2, Czech Brewing Company LLC to provide an extension of the project completion date for Pivovar Restaurant, Brewery, and Hotel Project located at 320 to 324 South 8th Street. All projects being within TIF Zone 1 in Waco, McLennan County, Texas, and authorizing the city manager to execute any documents in connection therewith, providing an effective date, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, and finding and terminating the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on November 3rd, 2020.
Thank you, Jennifer. And council members Kennard, Ewing, Holmes, and I have all filed affidavits of substantial interest on this item. There being a majority of us with a substantial interest, we are all qualified to vote. So is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Motion for approval on second reading.
All right, we have
Second.
we'll have a motion in a second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes,
Aye.
Ewing,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Sabino,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Deaver,
Yes, that motion carries. Are there any council member reports on committees or boards or commissions liaisons? All right, before we adjourn, I'd like to invite the public to join us for a special council meeting in a few minutes. The city council will be canvassing the November 3rd, 2020 election returns, and the elected council members will be sworn into office. The meeting is closed to the public and closed to the public attending in person, but it will be broadcast live here in just a few minutes on WCCC.tv. There being no further business, we will adjourn this meeting at 6:42 p.m. Thank you.